Hello, everybody. Welcome to Honesty Hour. This is our third episode. If you haven't already, you can check out the previous two episodes. We've changed it up a little bit. Before, I had my sister and her paramour on the podcast. Today, I have a close friend of mine by the name of Gershon. Welcome, Gershon.
Oh, thanks. It's good to be here.
We should probably do some introductions.
Yeah.
Just because I don't know if everybody knows where we know each other from.
Oh.
What your deal is, if you have a deal. So Gershon is a friend I met at school.
Yeah.
Do you remember how we met?
I think so. I think we met playing cricket. So I think our first memory of you is that cricket match when we with the cricket practice when I
Yes.
showed up, and then like the coach was you remember what the coach was his name again? I can't remember.
Kapada,
Yeah. Favoring me over you.
Yes. So here's the thing. I didn't know that our stories, because my first memory of you is on the cricket field as well. But I thought maybe we had met at some logistical, like some school thing
Yeah, but
before.
Let's be honest. Like the first time we actually talked and bonded
was on and it was a middle.
Yeah.
So a middle, for those of you that don't follow cricket, is like we have a practice session, but we are on the pitch and simulating
A match, yeah.
And I remember this. This is my description of Gershon.
Wow. Okay.
Feel free to call me out if I'm being rude.
This before, that's why I'm ready for it.
There's this stocky guy, no? This stocky, dark of complexion, shorter than. Well, I mean, at that point you were taller than me.
Yeah. I was taller than most people now. I'm super short.
Yeah, now you are, but shorter than me. But this like stocky, chubby black guy is bowling, and he's bowling. We have this thing in cricket, we call them pies, right? Pies are these balls that loop a little bit. They land on the pitch, and it's an invitation. It says to the batsman, "Please hit me," you know.
Yeah.
And so this guy's bowling these pies, and I'm thinking like, okay, like that's cool, but like I feel like I'm better. And now this was my grade 9 brain, okay?
Yeah.
And then I bowl my over, I get one over, and I see this guy gets another over. And I'm like, okay, surely that means I'm getting another over, you know? Because I'm having this superiority complex in my head already. And then you get another over, a third one, and I don't get my second over. And then you get a fourth. And at this point, I'm like, no. There's some nonsense going on here. This guy is either his family members with the coach. Do you remember the joke I used to make with you about about why you always used to get bowled more than me?
Yes, I know.
I used to call Gershon the quota selection for the team. It was at the time we were going to sort of like a phase in South African cricket where transformation was taking place, and we were trying to reduce the racial divide that was in our sport. A little bit edgy joke.
Yeah, I got the idea. The reason why I thought I've explained this to you before. The reason why I thought he always bowled me is because I came to every practice, which you did as well.
Yeah.
But the year before,
Yes.
so the year you weren't at school at that moment. The year before, we did a whole bunch of practices where it was just me and Kian, which is another mutual friend of ours. That it was just us and the coach. And he was like, we need bowlers. We need bowlers.
Yeah.
I'm going to teach you how to bowl, and we are going to bowl the whole time.
I see. So you were sort of his project.
It was a project, exactly. Did you not notice? Did you not notice how much care and effort he would put into teaching me how to bowl?
I just thought maybe you had a soft spot in his heart, or
Was that man ever soft?
nah.
Exactly.
But
Exactly.
But shame, we wish him well.
But he was hard. He was working hard to try to get me to bowl well.
And I think to your credit, by the time we were in matric and even before that, you had made significant strides as a bowler.
Yeah.
To the point where you were hitting lines and lengths more consistently than I was, even though I bowled maybe a little bit faster.
Yeah.
But cricket was always a good binding thing between me and Gershon. Then I remember, because you can have conversations with teammates,
Yeah.
but that doesn't necessarily mean that you're friends.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
I remember meeting you through a mutual friend of ours that he was into politics.
Who?
I'm not. Well, his name's Jordan.
Ah,
But we had a couple of Jordans that we had in common. But,
that's so vague.
Yeah, you know, he was into politics,
Yes, I know which one you're talking about.
and he brought me to this guy. He was like, this guy's good at debating. I was like, oh no, that's Gershon from cricket. And then it turns out that you were a Western Province debater at the time already. 'Cause
Yeah.
that was grade 9.
Yes.
Yeah, and I was a little bit intimidated. I I remember having this conversation with Jordan. He was asking me about the state of the country, and at the time I was adopting every like colored DA supporters view on the country, like, oh no, the country's going to the dogs, and just that typical pessimistic view. And he asked me a question, and I didn't hear the question. And I'm saying this is like the honest truth. I didn't hear the question, but I was in such fervor, and I was like, I can't back down now. I've already created this whole,
Yeah.
I was really fired up. And he asked me this question, and I'm like, yes, of course the country was better back then. What he had asked me was the National Party a better government than the ANC government? Now, those of you that don't know South Africa's racial history, he basically asked me whether I supported apartheid or not. And me not hearing the question, but not being too arrogant to ask, can you please repeat that question?
Yeah.
I didn't quite hear you. I went, yes, of course. And then he took me to Gershon. He was like, this guy's a racist. I, at that point, didn't know what I had said, but I was like, no, I'm going to stand up for myself. And he brings me in front of Gershon, and he tells Gershon the story. He says, listen to what this guy just said. And I find out at the same time as Gershon that I'm a racist. It was a really uncomfortable experience. Yeah. And
I remember this exchange.
yeah.
But lot of the time, I never took people at their word when they judge people. So it's good to judge people by your own estimation of them. So, like, when I heard that, I remember this now. When I heard that, I was like, oh God, why did you bring him here? If he was a racist, why are you bringing him here to talk to me? And then I saw you and I was like, oh, this is Samuel from cricket. Like, he was never racist towards me.
Yeah.
So
I would like to clarify that I still am not racist. But it was a miscommunication.
nah, things have changed. He's become more and more racist as time has gone on.
But look, we all try to be good human beings and whatever. I was silly. I should have just, here's a piece of advice, because it's caught me out a couple of times where I haven't heard the question and just answered, and people are like, what? What are you talking about? Just ask the person to repeat the question.
Yeah.
Like, it's not that deep. You know what I mean?
It's not at all.
Although I do have a rule when it comes to, like, if a person asks me a question and by the third time I haven't understood the question, I just go for it. Like, I just go for an answer, because you can only ask what so many times before both people are just like nod at each other. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. And then, so I knew you as this debating guy. Do you want to talk us through how you got into debating? Was it something that you always wanted to do?
So, funny story. It ends up being that I was in grade 8 and everybody needed to do a sport. Like, it was compulsory for everyone to do a sport. And so I was like, I'm doing cricket. And like, he says like, what was it, prefect, school council representative.
Yeah.
Who was in charge of a class is like, yeah, but like, are you doing anything to apply yourself? You're very smart. And I think, you know what? I'm going to do debating. I'm going to walk into the debating class, and if I don't like it on the first day, I'm going to walk out.
Jeez.
So I walked in ready. There was a college student coach there to come and coach us that year. And I walked in and I was like, okay, I'm going to pay attention and take notes. I hated it.
What?
It. Yes, it's true. I don't like arguing. I like to argue with people who are sensible and not going to get upset with me.
Yeah.
Because it frustrates you to argue with people who just don't get the point. We're doing this because we want to better ourselves as intellectuals, or just like better ourselves as people. But the moment you take things personally, it's no longer fun.
Yeah. But it's also one of those things where I think you assume that, and to a certain degree, we all assume that the person has the same objective that we do. Otherwise, we wouldn't even engage in conversation. And sometimes the objectives are not this. Like, people argue to win an argument. You
Yeah.
shouldn't argue to win. You should argue to come to some sort of mutual understanding.
Or
And that-
compromise, or
exactly.
better idea of what the problem is and what we need to do to solve it. Yeah.
But I'm probably guilty of it also, where like you start out the things thinking like, okay, I'm gonna get my point across, and at the end of it, you're like, this guy's just a jerk, you know. I don't care anymore. I want to start dissing you about you and your family and you know.
Yeah.
And it gets to that. So is it the conflict part of it that you?
Yes, I hate the conflict part of it. But here's the thing, right? That day, he asked us to do a speech, right? And I went up and I spoke about something I thought was important, right? I think it was school uniforms that he asked us to speak about. And I was making points about how school uniforms are important, about how, people who are poor, who can't afford to just have different clothes to wear every single day, that it's much more easy for them to just get school uniforms. And I was making those good arguments, but I was a stuttering mess and I couldn't speak properly. And as I'm busy giving this talk, I can see the guy's face is like, I love this guy. And he's shaking his head. To this day, I believe he biased me because he has a whole bunch of times that he has adjudicated my debates. I think to myself, I spoke terribly and said, you were the greatest person I've heard in the whole day. I was like, and then, you know what the worst part is? I thought to myself, okay, he's not a good judge. Cool, he's not a good judge. And then at the South African Championship, best judge, he walks up and he was announced as best judge.
Wow.
And then I went, maybe I am amazing. If the best judge in the country thinks that I'm amazing, then probably I am.
Probably a good indicator of where. So that was in essence, it was a win for both him and you.
Yeah. But that's not the thing that made me come back, because I wasn't going to come back. This lady sitting in the corner on her computer, was typing away, as listening to all supervising teachers, listening to everybody come up. And this lady came over and she went, "You're brilliant. Come. You need to come next week." I was like, okay, I come next week. At that time, I felt so intimidated by adults that it's difficult for me to say no. And I think so much that people will remember you. Like often people say things like, "Oh, you need to be back," and then they forget you the day after.
Yeah.
If you don't come back, it's not like they missed you.
Yeah.
But I felt like, oh, she's gonna miss me if I don't come back. Yeah, I am
That's
coming.
epic.
Yeah, I come back the following week. Our classroom, it was filled with debaters. There's only like 3 people now left.
Yeah. As tends to happen in debating.
Yeah, 3 people are left, and I'm sitting here, and then this lady had dragged me through before I know it was dragged through 4 years of debating by this lady.
Well, to be fair, I don't even think it's just the fact that maybe adults intimidated you. Because it's a teacher at our school, and I know who Gershon's talking about. She has a very intimidating presence.
Yeah.
And it's probably because she's very learned, very eloquent, but also very straightforward.
Yeah, she never minced words. She was very clear, and she was very good at bringing across her point.
Yeah.
I loved her as a teacher. Really, I did. And I was never taught by her.
Yeah. Did you think because she supported you a lot?
Most definitely. I think she was very much proud of me for it. It was kind of weird.
So in a way, it's like you were a project again.
Yeah.
There's people taking you under their wings and just but to some extent, is obviously extreme natural talent, at least in the debating part of it. Because
I've been told so, but like I don't think it was natural talent. Like I said, I had a horrible stutter, and it took me years to work it out. As when I spoke,
maybe talent in terms of your brain, and not so much in terms of the way you speak.
Maybe that is true.
Because that's not obviously there was growth in that element, but it's not exactly like they were focused on that. It was like trying to make you into a better speaker, so that the ideas you already had in your brain came out better. Yeah,
and I think a lot of other teachers or other coaches would have never seen that, like never seen the ideas that came out. And often that's the most important thing about debating, is finding creative solutions to a problem, or creative ways around certain issues that come up. And so that you can get your arguments concise through, that's a bonus. But that can be taught and learned.
It requires an audience that's listening to what you say, and not listening to you. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
So it's like, what's this guy really trying to, what's the point? So you have to be open. There's a responsibility from the audience's side as well.
Yeah.
And I think things fell into place nicely, that you were in a room with two people who believed in what you were saying and believed in the potential of your brain more than just the package that they saw in front of them.
Yeah, I was very grateful for that. Yes.
Yeah. And then, so your name's Gershon.
Yeah.
Do you know where I'm going with this?
Oh, yeah, I think so.
Okay, so when I first met you, I thought, oh, that's Gershwin. Mm-hmm. We had a friend whose surname was Manneveld, and they used to call him Manne, and I thought his surname was Langeveld. Anyway, but with you, I thought your name was Gershwin, because at least in the colored community, Gershwin's a lot more common.
Yeah.
A common name than Gershon. Do you often get called Gershwin?
Yeah.
And what do you address it?
Gershon. None of them are correct. It's Gershon. Like, I was always told to correct. My mother felt that it was important. She thought she said, your name has meaning, so let people say it properly.
Yes. What does your name mean?
I have no idea.
Nice.
But it means something important to her. It means something important to my mother.
No, fair enough. I believe that. I just expected
it's a Bible name. It's a Bible name. Old Testament, sons of Levi, I think.
Yeah, yes. Gershon and sorry? Eliezer and Gershon. Moses' sons.
Moses'
We're
sons.
hearing from the studio.
The producer.
So my name is also a biblical name, right?
Yes.
But people tend to not get Samuel wrong, because
Yeah.
I think it's a little bit more common, or at least more westernized.
Yeah.
So
It's a combination of the confusion of like Gershwin in like everybody's name. Gershwin is pronounced Gershwin.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. And so the thing that used to irritate me was they used to get my surname wrong, because my surname's Julius and Julius for some reason. If they our principal used to say Julius, I should clarify our new principal, because the old one, could say my name, and it used to like bug me, man. But it was one of those things where I just let it slide, because your surname is not that important. People don't say it as often.
Oh, nah, opposite.
Opposite. You think it's more important?
I think it's more important. I guess like you carry your family name.
Yeah.
And so like it's like a title more than what your name is, like a label put on you. Like you call me the entity Gershon. That's my name.
Yes.
But Waverley is the title I bring. It's like, oh, I'm come from the Waverley family and I represent them. Often that's why people say like your surname's in business stuff. Like you seem like you're representing a title.
I hear you, but I think we live in a city that's too big for people to even think about.
Like too many people have the same surname.
Exactly. So like if your surname's, I have a friend whose surname is Peterson.
Yeah.
How many Petersons are you representing? You know what I mean? There's so many. It's
maybe the reason I'm proud about my surname is there's like a whole bunch of history behind it. Like 200 years worth of history.
You want to take me through that, because I'm a sucker for good history.
Let me tell you quickly a story about the book that has the history of our family in it.
You guys have a book?
We have a book. My grandfather loved investing into books, right? So he bought a lot of books from Reader's Digest. Okay. And because of the books he ordered one trying to do like ancestry on our family. So they did ancestry on our family about all the books, like we a book about our family. So we're going all the way back. And so
sorry, this book, was it a book on ancestry in general?
No, about our family, specifically our family. And so it's very complicated history, and it's quite fun. Okay, so let me explain it to you. As far as they could go, they went all the way back to the West Indies, right? The Caribbean, if you much more better name for it, colonials. The Caribbean, right?
Yeah.
Not knowing what Pacific island we are from, but there, right? So a lot of Afro.
I should interject to say Pacific island, because if it's a Pacific island, then it's the other side of the world.
No,
that's the only reason I wouldn't have called it out unless.
Okay. So we didn't know what island we are from, right? So they couldn't go further than that. But you can obviously think that not a lot of Afro people that live in the Caribbean at the moment are specifically from the Caribbean. A lot of them are slaves, probably from West Africa.
We should say former slaves.
Former slaves from West Africa.
Yeah.
In old colonies. So what ended up happening is our family were people that were in the Caribbean. They were the slave owners were probably British, and the British owner took us from the Caribbean to Britain, which is probably where we got our family name Waverley.
Waverley, okay.
Probably where we got the family name Waverley, and took us from Britain to South Africa as like the new colony for the British Empire.
I see. So you weren't here to be in a position of servitude.
Probably. I don't know.
Okay.
I probably don't know. But I've all of this information I can't verify for you, and I can't tell you because this is all secondhand information I got.
I hear you.
Because another part of our family kind of stole the book and I've
That's
never read it.
wild.
I have never read it. I have never.
You realize
read
this
it.
gives you a life quest in case
Yes.
you didn't have anything to do.
But there's a dispute.
You're like in a movie.
There's a
I have to
dispute,
find. I have to connect with that side of the alienated side of the family. I need to worm my way back in.
No, we
I'm gonna
are
see the
speaking
book,
terms though.
Like one Christmas lunch, I'm gonna see the book, and it's just gonna be like lying there in all its glory, and you're gonna have to make a decision. Do I stick with my new family that I've made, or do I steal that book back and then create the divide again? Your life is a movie. I like that.
No. We don't speak in terms of these people. We disagree on this. They said my grandfather gave them the book. Why would he give you a book that was a family book? Like I know you guys are also Waverleys, but like it's our family thing, so I got a little bit upset that it's not by me. So I could have read it and like confirm these details. This is all what my mother told me.
I hear you.
Like I can't tell you that is 100% true without reading from the book itself.
Sounds to me like we have something to do tomorrow. Well, you grew up in South African racial terms colored,
Yeah.
and then you subscribe to that, the cultural identity that
Yeah.
comes with colored.
It's weird. It's kind of weird, right? If no one can see me or don't know me, I have much darker skin for.
I'll put a
colour
picture of you in the thumbnail, and then people will be able to see for themselves.
Yeah. So I have much more darker skin than most people and most colored people, and often you people just like, oh, are you black? Like I don't want to explain to you, but yeah, I'm colored, and so it's weird. So I have very dark skin. It's also weird. Like a lot of I said to my mother, I said you also have like dark skin. But she said, yeah, but I also have a colored accent. So when people speak to me,
yes,
when people speak to me, their
know.
brain switches. Oh no, it's just a dark colored person.
I hear you. But then, so your accent is sort of like this fusion of, I'd say, like upper class colored with white influence.
Yeah.
Like a very Model C.
Model C.
Do I have to explain Model C? Do you think it's necessary? Should probably just, in case we have an international audience, Model C is formerly white only schools.
Yeah.
And so people of color that attend those schools tend to have accents that maybe, I don't know if the word replicates the right one to use, but accents that are not as regionally bounded.
Yeah.
I will say. So it's sort of like outside the confines of, so when people see you, they think black person that went to a white school.
Yeah, that's exactly it.
Yeah.
That's exactly it.
Which is, I've grown up my whole life with just the look of being colored, and then sometimes the accent if I want to put it, because there's some situations where it requires a bit of code switching.
Yes.
Code switching is the polite way to say, ek bring die kombuistaal uit. You know what I mean? Because it's necessary in some situations, especially in Cape Town. It's a very predominantly colored city.
It's probably because we often think that we don't sound professional if you have a colored accent.
But you don't. Nobody ever sounds professional I'm sorry to my colored people. I love you guys, and it's all love. But there's something about humourous that does not translate to the professional world, especially the world of media. And I'll give you an example. There's this guy, his name is Brighton Paulse. I'm sure he's a former rugby player. I think he's from Ceres, somewhere with apples, Grabouw. And he's on this show called Boots and All. And Boots and All is like the super sport production of like rugby analysts that get together and they speak about the rugby. And he's speaking and he says, I don't understand why he gave that pass. And he says these words. He says, that pass was so irrational. When I tell you that I've never cringed hard at anything, there's something about and you know what it is? It's if he had stuck with the colored accent all the way, then at least you'd get used to it and you'd be like, oh, that's just Brighton. You know what I mean? But why did he roll the R in irrational? Why did he go ira and then say sinal? Do you know what I mean? Like, choose. If you're going to be American, then be American the whole time. You can't switch half of a word and make it colored. And then,
you know who was the biggest offender of that?
Oh.
Benny McCarthy.
All the time.
Benny McCarthy.
That's true.
Oh.
But he has a high enough voice that you get distracted by.
Yeah, but like my mother gets upset. She says like you spent your career in England. Why do you not speak English fluently?
That's true.
How does your wife understand you?
I think he has a British wife. But he always sounds like he just went on the night out. Like he had drinks with the boys. And his voice is permanently like. There's another person I met, Peter de Villiers, the former Bach coach. Yeah. That guy's like tiny and he has like a very high pitched voice. Sounds like a lady if you close your eyes. But that guy has muscles. Which I suppose is, you can't really be in rugby without having some sort of muscular frame.
Yeah.
But like that guy's got muscles on his muscles and he's short, but when I shook his hand, you know, I could feel the indentation from his hand still on mine afterwards. But as far as celebrity encounters go, have you met?
None.
You need to get out more.
None. I've seen Youngster.
We've all seen Youngster. It doesn't count.
I think so. I think it doesn't count. So I haven't seen.
Youngster is this rapper from Cape Town. To be fair, he's big nowadays. He told us he toured with Ty Dolla $ign, who's also like a big rapper. But anyway, Youngster went to our school, man.
That's my point. I've seen him.
He came to our school twice because it's his former school. So it's like not that big of a deal.
So then I haven't seen much celebrities.
Although I will say that when Youngster came to our school, there was this girl in our class who was like, I guess South Africa is really racially divided because the first description is always somebody's race, you know. But she was like light of I think she was white, but I'm not sure. Anyway, she was the studious girl. She did all her work. She got top grades. And the last thing you would expect was like she's a hip hop fan. And she isn't by all accounts. And like a Youngster comes to our school and he's doing this song. I think it's like something about the sis. That's the theme of the song. The neighbors and they call the cops sis. And like I look at like down the row because we like sitting in rows. She's standing on a chair. She has her hands in like a gangster sign, like 2 fingers up and the thumb out, and she's going sis with the people. I was like, what's going on here? But fair enough. Music's the one place where people are allowed to like lose themselves. You know.
See, that is the main reason why people can't buy that I'm colored.
Yeah. You don't have
the also to carry yourself the same way.
Yeah. I wanted to speak about like cultural appropriations becoming like a big talking point. And I'm going to give you my view on it. And I'm interested in hearing your opinion on this. So the way I feel, cultures, in my opinion, is flexible. There's not the static thing. There's certain indicators of culture that operate at a certain time. So, for example, I think a Gatsby at the moment, and it could change down the line, which is why I say it's flexible, but like a Gatsby at the moment is a culturally colored food. Cape Malay, the roti, you know? There are things that maybe are indicators of a certain culture, but they are not bound to that culture. And cultures themselves aren't here forever. Colored people didn't exist 500 years ago as the culture. So when people speak about, oh, that's cultural appropriation, or he's using my culture to do this or to do that, I'm always skeptical of the accusers, because I feel like what makes you qualify as a guardian of culture? Because what you are doing is you basically saying, I decide what my culture is and what it's not. And being a colored might mean something totally different to a different colored. I can only speak about my experience of it. And so if someone wants to eat the Gatsby that's not colored culturally, like for me, it's like, feel free. Enjoy the benefits of what my culture has to offer, because I'm proud of my culture. And I think that the entire world would benefit from it. And it's one of those things where like we all adopt from each other. There's so many closer words that were adopted from Afrikaans. So many Afrikaans words that are, English and Afrikaans. So it's, to me, the whole thing feels like this one big facade almost. It's like, I have to protect my culture. Like, for me, let people do what they want to do. As long as it's not like completely disrespectful. But like, where do you sit on that?
So there's this very nebulous place that culture exists in like people's like day-to-day lives. What is culture? What do we define as culture in our lives, right? Is eating a Gatsby a thing that colored people do? Is that a thing, like eating food? Like, is that a thing that is a cultural thing? Maybe the dish itself has some cultural meaning behind it. But like eating it isn't not that bad of a thing. A lot of people do a lot of things there where they cook different countries' dishes. And so the question becomes, right, what is strategically a culture that is only performed by a certain group of people? And why does it have to be that group of people? So when you make those type of boxes that you have to put those type of categories in, right, it becomes much more easier to talk about, but also much more difficult, because then you argue about whether or not this fits into the idea of just being a thing that people do and a thing that is part of their identity. So like a good example is like, if we talk about whether or not, you answer me this question, whether or not wearing like Indian headdress is like cultural appropriation and it's a bad thing to do. What do you think?
I think if you like the style, then you should wear, unless this is maybe the only.
I will just make the opposite argument for argument's sake.
No, fair enough.
Just to illustrate my point.
I'd say unless there's a religious significance to it, or somebody says like this is strictly for this person, and in your culture you understand that it's strictly for this person. If there aren't any, because you need to understand the context of the things that, even the things that you put on, because everything is historically bound, everything has a context. If you understand that and you know that this is not something that is forbidden, then I think by all means go for it. Like Maori tattoos, if you like the tattoo, get the tattoo,
Yeah. See, that's like something that falls in like that nebulous category. Like we can all talk about, it's just like something we wear. So something is stylish. But often those type of things have some religious or ceremonial significance to Native Americans. So like you wearing it is disrespecting that type of culture of like, we do that only for special occasions, or certain type of people need to wear those type of garments. Like those things are things that we do as part of our religion or our culture, that is something that goes on, right? Like it's different from say someone cooking spaghetti because you're Italian, or someone cooking a dish because you want to just eat it, right?
For sure.
Like people are not gonna get upset at you for eating like a filter fish from Jewish culture. Like even if that also falls, like that is something that they do for specific holiday, but no one's gonna be upset that you're eating food.
Yeah, exactly.
Like you're making and eating food that comes from a certain region.
Yes.
So like it's very complicated to talk about, and it's about people's individual intentions behind it. Like for example, I was thinking about those like tattoos that Pacific Islanders wear, right? And like Disney got into trouble for their what's the Moana. What, I forget what the character the Rock played's name is. Maui.
Yeah.
So they built like a costume where they had like the skin with all the tattoos on it. Like even then, the tattoos in that show was meant to be some sense of symbolism in that show. It was part of the it was part of the story. Like the tattoo was
Yes,
moving,
yes.
and this
Yes,
it had
yeah.
all significant parts, and like there's a fun element to that.
Mm.
But a lot of Pacific Islanders got upset at that, right? Not just the costume, the portrayal of it in the movie,
I hear you.
like the tattoos that they in the movies, because it meant something to them. It's not just a tattoo that you
Not
wear.
arbitrary.
It's not arbitrary, right?
Yeah.
It's not just something. And so it has significant meaning. And it's often very like, but it's just a tattoo, man. Like, what is the tattoo?
Yeah, yeah.
And it means something to it. And we must always put it in context of our own cultural and religious backgrounds, right? It's not just, the Bible's not just a book that Christians read, it's something important. It's not just communion. We're not just doing this because we want to eat like bread
Yeah.
and drink grape
Yeah,
ties.
because if I wanted to drink grape taza and eat bread, I would do it at home. Like,
Yeah.
I don't want to be with, no offense, I love my church, but I don't want to do it with, like, 200 random people. I'd rather just take the whole bottle home. So it's about the symbolism behind the actual thing. The actual thing doesn't really mean much on its own.
So that there is like, that is even an example of something that people might not get offended by. Like a lot of people won't get offended by, oh, you mocking the communion. People won't like, it's just a thing that those people are doing. So you ask the immediate question is then why? Why is those people not upset about it?
Yeah, because I have a theory on this, right?
Go ahead.
Christianity, because it's been a dominant world religion, it's pervaded all four corners nice, flat earth. It's pervaded the globe, right? And so it's been one of those things where, because it's so dominant, each one has their own version of Christianity. There's not one uniform Christianity, and even Christianity itself is split into thousands of denominations.
Yeah.
And because it's become so dominant and not a minority, people, I think, are more liberal in their criticism of it. Because it's available everywhere. It's something that's so big that it's debated on. I know that I have friends and stuff who, if they were to make jokes about the Bible or something, I mean, it would make me slightly uncomfortable, because that is what I consider to be the foremost of holy books. But I wouldn't cut off the friendship.
Yeah.
And I certainly wouldn't say, how dare you? You better put some respect on its name. And there are situations where I think maybe minorities, maybe more, the smaller the minority, the more protective they are. Look, I don't want to make assumptions.
Yeah.
But that's the feeling I get, is that we can't sort of joke about this community because this community is a small community. Whereas like how many Catholic jokes do you hear like on a daily basis? And because there's so many Catholics. You get what I'm saying?
Like, do you remember what was the name of the artist in France who got shot down by Muslim
I know what you're talking about.
Charlie forget.
He did the caricatures of the Prophet Muhammad.
Yeah, and they got upset. So it's not just that, right? I think it's not just about dominating religion, but also about how people from certain groups feel how certain people portray their culture, and often to mock them or to make them feel silly and stupid. Like a lot, you forget about like colonialism as a tool to like try to teach them the savage to be a civilized man, and often there's like that historical weight behind wanting to protect your culture, because these white people came to come destroy your culture, and they not only do they come to destroy our culture, they openly mock us about our culture. Oh, look, Chinese caricatures in movies, or blackface in certain cartoons and stuff like that, to make fun of you and your culture. Look, the man is banging drums in the jungle. And sometimes you forget about those historical precedents where people couldn't be able to defend their culture or say things like, that's my culture and I feel proud about doing that. There's a significance behind doing those certain rituals in my culture. And then you end up thinking he's mocking my culture. He's doing that. A lot of people, that's not their intention. Like, it's just not their intention.
Yeah.
Like, I just wanted to dress up as wear a traditional Chinese dress to a prom because I thought I looked lovely in it.
Yes.
Not because I want to mock Chinese people.
Yeah.
And that's fair. You can't get too much angry at that. A lot of the times you have to look at intentions. Sometimes intentions are pretty obvious.
Yeah.
And sometimes they're not. And we must judge on a case-by-case basis. We're becoming a more globalized world. Like, I don't think that people will get upset for you wearing a kimono if you want to.
Oh yeah, because anime is like dominating the world at the moment.
People want to express their appreciation for like Japanese culture.
Yeah.
But sometimes maybe Japanese people might not be okay with certain type of kimonos. There are type of traditional dresses that are not just daily things that you wear that show certain status symbols and stuff like that. So often things are important to people and certain things. And what the safest thing to do is try to educate yourself on a certain culture before trying to portray it and think maybe I should be more wary of it.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I didn't even, surprising to me that I didn't even think about the colonial background behind something like Christianity, and white people get mocked more, but like, or at least it's more openly acceptable to mock them just because of they don't feel the need to defend their culture as much, where their
culture is the dominant culture.
Exactly.
And they've been the people in high positions.
Exactly.
So it's disgraceful to punch down, but it's very easy to punch up.
Yes. And one of those things where like you get maybe more protective if people have openly abused our cultural heritage.
Yeah, this makes me think of a joke from the Boondocks, where they have the nigger moments one, and the guy walks.
So I mean, go on.
Don't be upset at me about that.
No, it's fine.
And they walk across, and the guy goes, "This is a perfectly good time to throw your life away." And the white guy's like, "I forgot, I'm white," and then he keeps on walking.
Nice.
As if there's like, I don't need to get into this argument because I'm white.
Yes. But it's like those jokes are more, let's just say, more well received in popular culture.
Yeah.
And it's because of that historical context.
Yeah, I said, like, even the N-word. It's the idea of which people in power is able to say that, and what the connotations is. A white person saying it is talking down to a black person, but a black person saying it means comes from a place of trying to reclaim that.
Exactly.
Reclaim that feeling of sadness.
Do you remember our history teacher for grades 10 and 11 used to say the road to hell is paved with good intentions?
Yeah.
And she always used to use it in the context of like the socialist movement, because the intentions were great, but the execution was, if we look at it historically, abysmal is maybe a nice way to put it, because of the millions of people that ended up dying. So I wanted to talk about also, a lot of people know that I love history, but maybe they don't know why I love it as much. And me and you have had many a bonding moment in history, because I took history with Gershon. Always my most fun class. I think it was always the one I looked forward to the most. And partly some of that has to do with you.
Also has to do with our teachers being willing to engage with us too.
Yes. Outside of the syllabus.
Yeah, outside of the syllabus.
And to have conversations about... We used to have debates, open debates in history, and nobody was excluded from the debate.
No one was.
Everyone's opinion is valid. I'll be honest, sometimes we started them because we didn't want to do the work. And we just like, let's talk about this instead. And then that used to take up the entire lesson. But it was one of those things where it was never work for me.
Yeah.
It's like, how privileged are we that you can literally, and to those of you that are approaching the phase where you need to choose subjects, there's a subject, right, where they tell you stories. All you have to do is tell them the stories back, right? But they tell you stories, and that's the work. Like, it's incredible to me that like not more people aren't as excited about it, because for me stories are like they give significance and meaning to life. Like I said, without context, right? Nothing really means anything if it doesn't have a history.
Yeah.
And it's one of those things where stories are the best way to tell us the truth without being harsh about it, or like, Jesus used parables.
Yeah.
To get his
I
messages
think like
across.
people, you should like look at history as something fun rather than some boring bits of text. Like there are real people who did some terrible things and real people that did some good things, and you it's like a story.
It's like the greatest novel ever written.
Yeah, and it's people that like lived, and the effects on the world still persist to this day.
Yeah. And it's like stuff you can't make up. Like there's some random facts I know about, like Joseph Stalin was such an insecure leader, right? Who every person who, if you looked at him the wrong way, he thought you were a threat to his power. So he had this thing where he would look for the person that stopped clapping after his speeches, the first person to stop clapping, and he would interrogate them and sometimes even find them guilty and send them to the gulag or have them executed. Which is absurd to think about. The fact that people were literally too scared to stop clapping first. Which is why if you look at YouTube videos of some of Stalin's speeches, the clapping just keeps going for like a solid 3 to 5 minutes before someone eventually is like, I mean, this is ridiculous now. And as soon as that person stops clapping, everyone stops clapping because they're like, thank God it wasn't me. It's these are the gems that you find in pursuing, it's to me, it's like the most creative way, the most creative path to academia.
Yeah.
Because the sciences can be very rigidly sciencey.
Yeah. It's also the best part of history. It leaves room for interpretation and leaves room for your opinion on the matter.
For sure.
And so often people don't feel engaged with their syllabus, with other subjects. History actively asks you to be engaged with it. It actively asks you, what are you thinking about this? How did this affect people? What do you think the outcome here is? And what do you think is going to happen in the future because of this event?
And unlike life orientation, it actually matters.
Don't be harsh on life orientation.
I can't stand life orientation.
Oh, come on.
It boosted my marks, but that's about it. Also, another thing that I'm going to listen to these back. And I said this in the first episode, but these are historical documents. It's a time capsule where you get to listen to what Junior back in 2022 was thinking. Do you think that you will look back on this specific episode with fondness?
Probably. It was fun doing it with you.
I appreciate that. Are you going to listen to it when it comes out?
Probably not. I hate the sound of my own voice.
You have to get over that at some point.
I have to get over that at some point, but not today, man.
Yeah, okay, fair enough. But then, I always think maybe, because I'm putting my opinions out there, and I'm by far not the finished article. I have a lot of learning and growing to do. And I might look back on this in 10 years and be like, oh, that's a bit cringe. Or why did he think that was okay? But like I said, I've reiterated this in the past. I think that's more a sign of growth than anything. Yeah.
Like I said, for the past 2 days, you have to judge a man in his time.
Yeah. That's the 5th time in the past 2 days I've heard that from Gershon now. But it's true, because the sign of growth is looking back on something and saying, well, maybe I was wrong there, and my opinions are flexible. And so if you meet me in person and I say something and you think, well, that's not what you said on your podcast, chances are I've grown. Because I try to be as honest as I can at all times. Because it's another reason free speech is so important, is we need to be able to say dumb things before we can figure out what's of any value.
Yeah.
And honesty comes with saying some dumb things.
Yeah, that's 100% true. And we must also be open to hearing people say dumb things. Because often the only time that people start to realize that they say dumb thing is when they say something, it hits the back of the wall and no one says anything and just gives you a strange look. Then you said something stupid.
It's true. I used to, because I did public speaking quite often, at school and stuff, and sometimes even at church. Sometimes you make a joke and there's no response, and You make it again. And then it's like,
No. That's a you problem. That's a you problem. You always need to feel secure. Gershon, here's my joke. Gershon, you didn't laugh, so let me repeat my joke. Like, Samuel, I don't need to laugh out loud to think you are funny.
You realize I don't just do that with you. I do that with every person in my life. Like, my sister's probably laughing because she knows I repeat these jokes because I'm like, where's the part where you're supposed to laugh? I like how my first assumption is that you aren't competent enough to get my joke.
So I need to re-explain it to you.
To me, that's always the first option before, oh, maybe that joke wasn't that great. But we learn and we grow. And yeah, not to make this the sentimental part of the podcast, but I do appreciate you as a person, the role you played in my life as well. But that's looking at this from like, I'm the main character point of view. I'm now giving you your flowers, which is like, the world needs more people like Gershon, in my humble opinion. And it would be amazing to see you reach the heights that I know you are capable of. And heights, that doesn't just mean material wealth or whatever.
Yeah.
It's like making that impact, that I feel that you can make. So, congratulations on being the person that you are.
Oh, I feel flattered so much.
No, but it's just the truth, because it's rare.
Yeah, it's much rarer than it needs to be.
Yeah, maybe more of an indictment on everyone else.
Yeah, it's that's kind of true.
But genuinely, we need more people that are willing to have conversations. And I mean conversations, not shouting at each other,
Yeah.
And people that are willing to speak about the things that don't get spoken about, because that's how you stop everyone from just assuming something and it becoming violent.
Yeah. Like, I think about like flat earthers and how stupid they are, and I end up
I just called this guy a nice person.
I just end up thinking a lot of people don't want to engage with those type of people because they end up saying to themselves that this person is stupid and like there's no argument to have here. But the fact that someone has a different opinion to yours is the fact that there is an argument. You might not convince them of them being wrong, but there's a conversation here to be had.
Yeah.
Because they have a different opinion to yours.
100%.
Like, even if it's stupid, like, take them on to talk to them, but don't make it personal. Why are you getting upset at someone who was clearly stupid enough to think that the world is flat? Why are you getting upset at that?
Yeah.
Just talk to them about it. And they might not agree with you ever, but you will be valued to understand why they thought so.
And the thing is, if we all agreed on everything, what would we have to talk about?
That is true.
We would all be sheep.
Yes.
So I'm glad that we are all different, and even though maybe some people have the IQ of a sheep, you can still have conversations with everyone.
Everybody is valuable. Everybody's opinion is valuable. No, just not. It doesn't mean that we should go with your opinion.
Yeah.
But your opinion is valid.
I hear you.
Yeah.
Thank you for coming onto my podcast. I appreciate you a lot. We will probably have you on again. Oh. If that's okay with you.
I will, but again, don't expect me to listen to the ones that I'm on.
Okay, no, that's fair enough. You don't have to.
No, please invite me back.
Yeah, because I feel like we've barely scratched the surface of, and this is one of the things where I knew we were good friends, was because in history we would have conversations all the time, and then in math, which we also had together, we would have conversations all the time. Probably contributed to my poor math marks in matric.
Oh, it definitely contributed to mine.
Well, there was the fact that the math teacher hated you as well.
No, don't be too harsh.
She's a good teacher. She just made the mistake of treating us like adults. And we abused that to the... We would play like Cards Against Humanity in matric math, when you literally can't afford to mess around. I'm busy writing down codes to send to like 5 different people so we can log on to the same game. Anyways. Let me not expose you any further, Gershon.
Yeah, if my mother would listen to this, she would be upset.
Oh, no, you have to play it for her.
Oh, I will.
Amazing. So, good luck with the upset mother. Mrs. Waverley, you've done an excellent job. Yeah. Let me end before
Before we get into more trouble.
Yeah, exactly. So thank you for coming on. you guys will hear things from Gershon. I'm making you that guarantee. Bye.
Bye.
Have a lovely day further.